F.P. Journe is the only company where the watchmaker is the president, is the founder. There's not another one like this. So everything is around his vision. So when you do this, then you have a certain amount of man hours. So if we only create, Chronomètre Souverain, which is one of our least complicated watch, not that simple, but least complicated, maybe we can make 1,500 watches a year. If we make only the Grand Sonnery, and if people in our ateliers were able to do this, right now there's only two besides François Paul that can actually work on them, but let's imagine all of them would be able to, maybe we make 30 a year. So it's basically the balance between 30 and 1,500. Maybe it's 32, maybe it's 1,600, but to give you a ballpark. And it just happens to be what it is at the end of the year because of people requesting more of this watch. Sometimes, like last year we produced 744 mechanical watches. We have one with the Journe quartz, it's a different department. And we're not counting the Grand Sonnery and Mille Repeater, it's like a handful, and it's just another department. But on mechanical watches, we produce 744. We don't know yet what 2017, what we call millésime, will be. For me, I think it's going to be lower. Okay. So it's not because we didn't perform whatever, but we had to do the Vagabondage 3. It's a brand new movement. And whenever you do a new movement, you have this learning curve that takes a long, long time. So your production output goes down. And then we're preparing for the new thing, the novelty for 2018. And that takes a long time also. So, but the beauty of not having constraint with partners or with a bank, or somebody tells you, I need a 10% return on my money, changes the whole paradigm. He does whatever he wants. François Paul is the first one to say, guys, I'm doing the watches that I, François Paul, like. And I'm super lucky that I have collectors that like what I do. But even if they would not like what I do, I will still do this. Because that's the only thing I know what to do. Don't ask me to do things that I don't know what to do. You don't ask a sculptor to do landscape painting. If it's not in his calling, he's not going to do it. Marketing companies will do this. Not François Paul. It changes the whole thing. There was even at the Babson College a collector, professor of marketing that did a case study on F.P. Journe, and he was telling his kids, listen guys, you're probably all here because you want to make money. Fine, there's nothing wrong with this. But you can have another vision of your life. And you're going to hear about this case study, and then you decide, this guy is doing what he loves. And what he loves is not money related. To this day, François Paul does not own an apartment. He does not own a car. He owns nothing. Every penny stays in the company. That's how we've been able to grow it. And if you look further, how is it possible that a company that makes 744, like all the way to 900 watches a year, how can we afford to have our own dial maker, our own case maker, our own machinery to do all the components in-house, or 95%, we don't do the crystals, we don't do the hands, obviously, the rest we do. And also have boutiques to represent him worldwide. How is that possible? In order to have this vertical integration, you would have to go to something so much bigger like Richemont Group and Swatch Group, but we've been able to do this on our own, without a bank, without anyone. And the price of independence is steep, but that's François Paul.
And it comes down to the reinvestment. Like you said, there's not a cent to spare. Every cent that you have goes into the dial maker, the case maker, building facilities, bringing in specialized personnel. So it sounds really like the development of Montre Journe is threefold. The development of new watches that provide fulfillment to François Paul himself, development of new watches, the development of the company as an institution, not just in terms of a brand, but you rescued the Bibliothèque Jean-Claude Sabrier. You prevented that from being broken up. I know François Paul spoke to me about his ambition to sometime in the future create a master school for masters within the grounds of the company. And so it becomes almost like an institution of learning that gives back to watchmaking. And then finally, there's building the brand in the eyes of the collector. And that's the next topic I really want to discuss with you, because you have a brand that is effectively 18 years old, and we've already seen the development of something approaching a vintage collector market for watches that aren't even 2 decades old. So what does it mean that there's now a sort of sense of vintage F.P. Journe, the early watches bringing special interest, the low-volume brass movements, the old 38mm cases, the Generation 1 tourbillon, of course, Generation 1 resonance and tourbillon watches. What does that mean, and what does it say about the brand that this exists so soon?
Well, so soon is 18 years. I mean, it's 18 years of hard labor, especially on François Paul's shoulders. But François Paul always respected the collectors. And then from the beginning, wherever we stopped the brass movement, therefore we didn't make another one after, not one. When we stopped what we call the yellow dials, that was the dial that we advertised, and all of a sudden, because the movement were 9 gold in rose gold and yellow gold, he didn't like the look of it, he stopped. But that's it. So there's no more. So, and I'm sure like people, your viewers know that it's easy to do limited edition. I change this hand, it's limited. For François Paul, it doesn't even exist. When he says it's new, it's not like the case is new or the packaging is new or the band is new. It's the whole thing is new. Obviously, the movement, because he's a watchmaker. He's not a case maker, he's not a dial maker, not him. So for him, it has to be this. So I think, and it's going to take some time because we don't have a big marketing budget. That's the problem of having 744 watches. Even if we had a lot of money, we're not going to be able to deliver. So, that's the issue that we have, if you want. But when we talk to collectors and we say, well, this is who we are. And we don't put a lot of money in marketing. We put the money where it belongs, in the watches. And our goal is to do this. To make the best watches ever, and we respect the collector, meaning we do not reintroduce a look-alike right after. Example, Vagabondage 1. He made 69 movements, plus number 00 for the company, so he produced 70, never used the movement again, ever. Which company is going to develop a movement to do 70 pieces? Financially, it is stupid. On the financial term, if you're a banker, I'm a banker, we say, François Paul, that's stupid. So why are you doing it? Because I want to. That's the beauty when being independent and being your own boss and being the watchmaker, you can decide yourself what you want to do. I have other examples if you want.
Of course.
The Grand Sonnery. So the Grand Sonnery, he started working. We started like coming out with the prototype in 2005. We started showing in 2006. Took him like 10 years, 8 years actually of hard work and 10 patents on this. And on average, we can make, let's say, between 3 and 4 a year. So let's call it 3.5 or 7 every 2 years. That's the cruising speed. At that time when we introduced it, it was 650,000 Swiss. So you do the math, even at 4, you're talking about 2.6 million Swiss francs at retail. François Paul asked Frank, who was the best watchmaker at that time, still probably is, said, Frank, can you help me out and help me build these Grand Sonneries? First, Frank had hair like this at the beginning. He finished like that, white hair. That was so much work and so much thinking. He turned white within like a year and a half. But this guy was able to do 40 tourbillons a year. And that time it was about 100,000 Swiss francs. So it's 4 million output on one side, 2.6 on the other one. Now, as a financier, you say, let's go with the 4 million. François Paul went with the 2.6. Why? Because he wants to.
So in a lot of ways, what collectors are buying into and what the neo-vintage scene is buying with the F.P. Journe watches, especially the early ones, is a very singular vision of watchmaking that's immediately identifiable with the man himself. It's not a committee product, it's not a product of a corporate board, it wasn't designed to meet a market niche, and maybe there's a purity of vision in that appeals to people. Even if it's sometimes a little bit idiosyncratic, when you're getting a Resonance 1, you're getting the Resonance wristwatch, the first one ever made, designed by the man who envisioned the concept in wristwatch form. When you buy the original tourbillon, the tourbillon 1 discontinued in 2003, you're getting the very first wristwatch concept ever brought to market under his own name by F.P. Journe. And like you said, because a limited edition or a discontinued reference at F.P. Journe is permanently discontinued.
Absolutely.
There's
big difference.
That's integrity.
A big difference. Yeah, that's integrity. Absolutely. And that's what people that know François Paul, know he has integrity. And the way to look at it is you're asking an artist more than a businessman. You know, I mean, I've seen this over and over where people say, I want my watch to be like this, like this, like this, like this. And we were talking about that time about the Grand Sonnery. And François Paul left the meeting. He said, look, if you want to do your watch, do it, put your name on it. It's my name on it. So if you have a good idea, I'm going to listen to it. If you don't have a good idea, I'm going to walk away. And he walked away from a 650,000 Swiss franc sale. Because that's integrity. I'm not going to do a fuchsia with polka dots, where other companies would say, you know, how many do you need? And that was, you know, that, it doesn't work this way. It's not even, it doesn't even, it can't even fathom that fact. It doesn't understand this thing.